All right, let's dive into something we can all relate to, burning fat and ditching those crash diets for good. You know, the ones that leave you fantasizing about pizza while you force down another kale smoothie.
Oh, absolutely. Those restrictive diets, they rarely work in the long run.
They really don't. And our source, Text Collie, is all about that, saying we need a real lifestyle change, not just some temporary torture. Speaking of torture, it calls out our obsession with calorie counting. Is that really the be-all and end-all of weight loss?
It's like, imagine you're building a fire, right? You wouldn't just focus on the number of logs you throw in there.
Good point.
You'd also think about the type of wood, the airflow, all of that. Calories matter, sure, but this source emphasizes the importance of food quality. 1,200 calories of processed junk versus 1,200 calories of nutrient-rich whole foods. Your body's going to respond way differently.
Okay, so ditch the calorie obsession, focus on real food. Got it. What about all those fad diets that pop up every other week promising miracles? They never seem to last.
And there's a reason for that. This source, it points out that these diets often backfire.
How so?
You might lose weight initially, sure, but it's usually because you're cutting out entire food groups. And that can lead to some not-so-fun side effects.
Like what? We talking beyond just feeling hungry? What kind of impact are we talking about?
Think fatigue, brain fog, even messing with your sleep. Plus, you're setting yourself up for the dreaded yo-yo effect.
Ugh, yo-yo dieting, the struggle is real.
It is. You lose weight, gain it back, and then some, and then you're right back where you started. It's a recipe for frustration, not lasting change.
Okay, so how do we break free from this cycle and actually boost our metabolisms for good? Our source seems to have some surprisingly simple suggestions.
Right, like the power of eating regularly.
Wait, really? I thought skipping meals was supposed to be the key to weight loss.
It seems counterintuitive, I know, but when you skip meals, your body goes into starvation mode, conserving energy and slowing down your metabolism.
Ah, that makes sense.
This source, it stresses keeping your metabolism stoked by eating balanced meals consistently throughout the day.
So we're talking about the opposite of those fasting for fat loss trends. It's more about keeping the engine running smoothly.
Exactly. Think of it like tending a fire. You need to add fuel regularly to keep those flames burning bright. And speaking of fuel, this source highlights the importance of protein.
Okay, protein. What's so special about it in terms of boosting metabolism?
Well, it takes more energy for your body to digest protein compared to carbs or fats. It's like the difference between chopping wood and, say, reading a book.
One definitely requires more effort.
Exactly. This is known as the thermic effect of food.
So we burn more calories just by digesting protein. That's a nice bonus. Does the source get into specific types of protein, or is it more about upping our intake in general?
It's more about the overall increase, but it does emphasize spreading your protein intake throughout the day, kind of like you were saying, keeping that metabolism humming along.
Interesting. It's like providing a steady stream of those calorie-burning logs to our internal fires. Now, what about something I definitely struggle with, hydration? Where does water factor into all of this?
This source, it really hammers home that hydration is key. Even mild dehydration can slow down your metabolism.
I've definitely noticed that when I'm even slightly dehydrated, I feel sluggish,
Right.
physically and mentally. It's like my body's running on fumes instead of high-octane fuel.
Exactly. Water is essential for transporting nutrients, flushing out waste products, and supporting all those cellular processes that keep your metabolism running smoothly.
Okay, so we've got consistent eating, prioritizing protein, staying hydrated. What else can we do to give our metabolisms a boost? I have a feeling you're about to mention something I don't always prioritize.
Sleep. You got me. This source, it points out that when you're sleep deprived, your body produces more of the stress hormone cortisol.
Cortisol, that's the one that seems to be linked to, well, everything these days.
It really does play a role in a lot. And in this case, chronically elevated cortisol levels, they can actually promote fat storage, especially around the midsection.
So not only does lack of sleep make me feel like a zombie, but it also messes with my body's ability to manage fat. Man, I knew pulling all-nighters wasn't doing me any favors, but this makes it even more clear.
Right, and it gets worse. Lack of sleep also disrupts our hunger hormones, specifically leptin and ghrelin. Leptin signals fullness, while ghrelin stimulates appetite.
Okay, go on.
When you're sleep deprived, your leptin levels plummet and your ghrelin levels, they skyrocket.
So that's why I get those late-night cravings. It's like my brain is convinced I'm starving, even if I've eaten enough during the day.
Exactly. So if you want to support your weight loss efforts, aiming for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night is crucial.
Okay, this is all making sense, but I'm curious to dive into exercise next.
Mm.
I'm assuming this source isn't recommending we all become marathon runners overnight.
You're right, it's not about marathon training unless that's your jam. This source is all about finding sustainable ways to move your body.
Sustainable. Love it. What does our source suggest for actually maximizing fat burn when we exercise?
Well, it gets into high-intensity interval training, or HIIT.
Okay, HIE.
Yeah, and it's not just about the calories you burn during the workout, it's the afterburn effect.
Okay, HIE and the afterburn effect, those sound kind of intense. Break those down for me.
So with HIIT, you're alternating between, like, short bursts of all-out effort and then brief recovery periods.
Okay.
Think sprints, jump squats, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the beauty is it keeps your metabolism revved up for hours afterward.
Really?
Yeah. We're talking about burning an extra 15% of the calories you burn during the workout for up to 48 hours afterward.
Wait, so we're still torching calories even after we've hit the showers? That's pretty amazing. Efficient, too.
Right.
But let's be real, HIT, it's not for everyone. I can't imagine.
Absolutely. And the source stresses that
Yeah.
always consult your doctor before starting any new workout routine.
For sure.
And you can still get amazing benefits from other types of exercise.
Like what? Give us some options for us non-HIT folks.
This source is all about building muscle because muscle is more metabolically active than fat, meaning it burns more calories even at rest.
Ah, so the more muscle we build, the higher our resting metabolism. Makes sense.
Exactly.
So I'm guessing this is where those weightlifting routines come in.
Exactly. Lifting weights, body weight exercises, resistance training, all that good stuff.
Gotcha. But what about those of us who, aren't quite ready to pump iron? Any other suggestions for boosting metabolism?
Absolutely. Don't underestimate the power of a brisk walk.
Seriously. Walking can help with fat loss.
You bet. This source recommends aiming for at least 30 minutes most days of the week.
That's doable. It's not about finding hours to spend at the gym. It's about incorporating more movement into our daily lives. I'm all about that.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked metabolism, we've talked exercise. What about the actual food?
Yeah.
I'm hoping this source isn't about banning all the delicious things in life.
Don't worry, this source gets it. It emphasizes the importance of finding enjoyment in food while making healthy choices.
Okay, good.
It even advocates for the 80-20 rule.
80-20. That rings a bell? Pareto principle, maybe? Refresh my memory on how that applies to, what we eat.
Exactly. The Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule, suggests that roughly 80% of our results come from 20% of our efforts. So in terms of nutrition, it means aiming for roughly 80% nutrient-rich foods and allowing yourself some flexibility with the remaining 20%.
Okay, so it's not about, completely eliminating our favorite treats, but rather making sure they make up a smaller percentage of our overall diet.
Exactly.
That feels a lot more sustainable than some of those restrictive diets I've tried in the past.
Precisely. It's about finding a balance that feels, manageable, enjoyable. The key is to make the majority of your food choices those nutrient-dense powerhouses that fuel your body and support your goals.
That makes sense. So what are some, realistic examples of this 80-20 approach in action?
Well, our source talks about craving management. So instead of reaching for a bag of chips when that afternoon slump hits...
Oh, I know that feeling.
Right. Why not try a handful of almonds or a piece of fruit with some nut butter? You'll satisfy your hunger and provide your body with those healthy fats, protein, and fiber.
Those are great ideas. It's about making those healthy swaps that still feel satisfying. What are some other, healthy swaps that don't feel like a punishment?
Well, the source gives the example of swapping traditional French fries for baked sweet potato fries.
Okay.
You still get that, crispy, salty goodness, but with added nutrients and fewer calories.
Okay, that's a swap I can get behind.
Right.
I'm all about finding ways to enjoy, our favorite foods in a healthier way. This all kind of ties back to that concept of sustainability, right?
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you in your lifestyle.
Yeah.
This source, it even encourages embracing those imperfect days.
Because let's be real, we're all human.
Right?
We're bound to have those days where we overindulge or, skip a workout or two.
Absolutely.
It's about how we bounce back from those moments, right?
Absolutely. This isn't about striving for perfection. It's about progress. Yeah.
This source, it really highlights the importance of self-compassion, especially after a, less than healthy day.
So instead of beating ourselves up for those slip-ups, we should treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a friend.
Exactly. Acknowledge the slip-up, maybe identify any triggers that led to it, and then gently guide yourself back on track.
I love that.
It's about learning and growing, not striving for some, unattainable ideal.
Progress, not perfection. I like that. It takes the pressure off, doesn't it?
It really does. It allows us to actually enjoy the journey without getting bogged down by, those inevitable bumps in the road.
It's about recognizing that we're all works in progress, and that's okay.
Exactly. And this ties back to something we touched on earlier, which is the importance of celebrating our successes.
Oh, I love that. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind that we forget to, acknowledge how far we've come. How does this source suggest we celebrate those victories? It's all about finding what feels good for you. Maybe you treat yourself to a new workout outfit, plan a fun outing with friends, or simply take a few moments to just reflect on how far you've come.
I love that it's not about any grand gestures or spending a lot of money.
Right.
It's about acknowledging our efforts and recognizing that we're making progress toward our goals. What are some other small ways we can incorporate that self-celebration into our health journey?
It can be as simple as, acknowledging those small everyday wins.
Okay.
Did you drink an extra glass of water today?
Yeah.
That's a win. Did you choose a healthy lunch instead of ordering takeout? Another win.
It's like we're training ourselves to focus on the positive, those little victories that keep us motivated along the way.
Exactly. And that ties into another crucial aspect of sustainability, and that is finding joy in the process.
Because let's face it, if it feels like a constant uphill battle, we're much less likely to stick with it.
Absolutely. This source, it stresses that it shouldn't feel like deprivation or punishment. It's about finding what feels good for you, both physically and mentally.
So tuning into our bodies,
Mm.
listening to what they need, and making choices that nourish us from the inside out.
Precisely. It's also about giving ourselves permission to experiment,
Okay.
to try new things, to discover what works best for our unique bodies and lifestyles.
I love that. It's about recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
We each get to create a version of healthy living that feels authentic and sustainable for us.
Exactly. Maybe you discover a love for dancing or hiking, or maybe you find joy in, experimenting with new plant-based recipes. The key is to find what resonates with you and make it your own.
It's about turning those healthy habits into something we look forward to, not dread.
Hmm.
This source it's shifted my perspective on what it means to live a healthy life.
It's about recognizing that our health is a precious gift, and it's up to us to nurture and cherish it in a way that, feels good.
It's been amazing breaking down all these insights with you today. We've covered so much ground, debunking diet myths, exploring the power of small changes, embracing self-compassion, and finding joy in the journey.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it? And we've only just scratched the surface of what this source has to offer.
That's true. But I think our conversation today has provided a fantastic foundation for anyone listening who's looking to make, sustainable changes for a healthier, happier life.
I agree. We've highlighted the importance of nourishing our bodies with wholesome foods, moving our bodies in ways that feel good, and prioritizing rest and recovery. And most importantly, we've learned that it's not about striving for some elusive ideal of perfection, but rather embracing the journey with all its twists and turns.
Beautifully said. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I have one final question for you, our amazing listeners. If healthy living is an ongoing journey, not a destination, what one small step can you take today to move closer to your goals? Think about it, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, happy listening. It's like we're training ourselves to focus on the positive, those little victories that keep us motivated along the way.
Exactly. And that ties into another crucial aspect of sustainability, and that is finding joy in the process.
Because let's face it, if it feels like a constant uphill battle, we're much less likely to stick with it.
Absolutely. This source stresses that it shouldn't feel like deprivation or punishment.
Right.
It's about finding what feels good for you, both physically and mentally.
So tuning into our bodies, listening to what they need, and making choices that nourish us from the inside out.
Precisely. It's also about giving ourselves permission to experiment,
Okay.
to try new things, to discover what works best for our unique bodies and lifestyles.
I love that. It's about recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
We each get to create a version of healthy living that feels authentic and sustainable for us.
Exactly. Maybe you discover a love for dancing or hiking, or maybe you find joy in, experimenting with new plant-based recipes.
Yeah.
The key is to find what resonates with you and make it your own.
It's about turning those healthy habits into something we look forward to, not dread. This source it's shifted my perspective on what it means to, live a healthy life.
It's about recognizing that our health is a precious gift And it's up to us to nurture and cherish it in a way that, feels good.
It's been amazing breaking down all these insights with you today. We've covered so much ground, debunking diet myths, exploring the power of small changes, embracing self-compassion, and finding joy in the journey.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it? And we've only just scratched the surface of what this source has to offer.
That's true. But I think our conversation today has provided like a fantastic foundation for anyone listening who's looking to make, sustainable changes towards a healthier, happier life. I agree. We've highlighted the importance of nourishing our bodies with wholesome foods, moving our bodies in ways that feel good, and prioritizing rest and recovery.
Mm.
And most importantly, we've learned that it's not about striving for some elusive ideal of perfection, but rather embracing the journey with all its twists and turns.
Beautifully said. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I have one final question for you, our amazing listeners.
Okay.
If healthy living is an ongoing journey, not a destination, what one small step can you take today to move closer to your goals? Think about it, and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, happy listening.